Good morning. So today I'm going to show you how I make sourdough bread. Now it's not my recipe, it came from one of my mother's friends, but it's my method that I've developed to put it together, and I wanted to make a little video so you don't have to go through all the headaches I did multiple times trying to get this right. This seems to work for me, so I'm going to show you how to do it today. It's spring 2020, COVID-19, quarantine, so I got time to do this. So anyway. So the first thing we want to do is we want to put yeast in this. So I've got some warm water, it's filtered water. I warmed it up in a microwave a little bit. I have 4 teaspoons of yeast. I'm going to put the yeast in the water and stir it up so it can start to activate. So you want that to sit in the water for at least 5 minutes or so it can activate, dissolve, get excited, come out of its dehydrated state. So we'll let that sit for a minute, and I use yeast out of a glass jar. It's cheaper that way. You can buy it in the little packets. Packets are about $1 a piece. It takes more than 1 packet. There's 2.5 teaspoons in a packet, so you're going to use almost 2 packets. You're going to love bread, just get you a jar. If you go to Sam's or Costco, you can even get a bigger jar than that. Okay. Important thing on your flour. What I understand, that's the best. You want bread flour, okay, not all purpose. I use a kitchen scale. It's the best way to measure flour, best way to measure all your ingredients. But realize flour, recipe calls for a cup of flour, 5 cups, whatever. That's sifted flour, so it's not compacted. So unless you're going to sift and measure properly, which is pain in the rear, get you a scale, turn it into grams, and then you can handle your exact weight and not worry about sifting. Same as when you're going to feed your sourdough, you can put equal parts, weight-wise, flour, water, and get your feedings perfect for your starter. Now I have a starter here today that I've had this starter a long time. It's been out of the refrigerator for months. You can see how bubbly it is. It's also pretty thick. If you give it equal water, flour, feedings, this is what you want it to look like, and you want it to be bubbly. Now I fed this last night. This is about, what is it? It's probably 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock today, so I fed it at bedtime last night. You can use it sooner than that. I would not use it at least for a couple hours after feeding. That way it has the time to feed on that flour and get happy and get bubbly. That's when you want to use it. So I've got my starter there. And right now I'm going to weigh in my flour. So I'm going to set my scale on grams. In this recipe, I use 520 grams of flour. So all you do is set your bowl on there and zero out your scale. A little much. There's 520. There's 520 right there. So that is equivalent to approximately, that's 4.5 to 5 cups of flour. Okay, so I've got my flour. So we're back to this yeast in the warm water. It's been sitting in there for a few minutes. It's supposed to be getting happy. Seems like it's not sticking to the spoon anymore, so I think it's dissolved. So I use a stand mixer with a bread hook. So much easier than kneading it out on a board. You can put it on a board, knead it with the palm of your hand, stretch it, knead it, fold it. Works fine if you don't have the stand mixer. But you got to do it for about 10 minutes worth of kneading, and so it takes a little while, 10-15 minutes to get it going good. I can pop it in here, knead it maybe 5 minutes or so, no work whatsoever. So I'm going to take the yeast and I'm going to go ahead and dump it in the bowl. So I got that going. Then with that mix, I need a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, olive oil, whatever you want to use. Okay, and then I need an egg. So I'm gonna take an egg, and it's, you know, supposed to be a beaten egg, but the machine will beat it, but I'll go ahead and beat it in my mixing cup while I'm here. So there's my one egg. Okay, and then it needs a teaspoon of salt. I've got my salt. And I'm gonna go ahead and let that churn just a little bit, just to have something for it to do. While I get I need a cup of sourdough starter. So sourdough is funny, it does not like metal. So I know I got a metal bowl here once I get ready to cook it, but you start, keep your metal stuff out. Don't use metal mixing cups, don't use metal spoons or whips or anything. So I need a cup to start. I like to make my measurements perfect. I don't know that it matters that much, but let's get it right. There's a cup of start. That sourdough smells good. It's happy. That's what we want. I'll talk about starts later, but most people making bread on a regular basis is feeding their sourdough starter twice a day. If you have it in the refrigerator and you get it out and you want to use it to make bread, it's best to get it out and feed it twice a day for a couple days in a row. It'll develop good flavor that way. And then use it. That way you can get it active again, get it happy. I only feed mine bread and flour and water. I don't feed it anything else. I know some people feed it with, they put sugar in it, they put milk in it, stuff. I don't do that. My sourdough seems happier, flour and water. Seems to be healthier, seems to last longer. So, I've got the sourdough starter in there. I'm gonna get that going. Now the next thing is put my flour in, and I'm just going to dump it from this bowl. Kind of dump it a little slow, give it a chance to mix in there. If you're not making a mess with flour, you're not doing it right. Now you can see it's starting to form a dough ball. I'm going to keep that spatula, kind of scrape the sides down a little bit. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And now that it's kneading your dough. So I want to show you what dough looks like before it's formed gluten. If you look at this dough and you go to pull it, see how it just tears? It's not really stuck together good yet, so we're not near ready. I'm gonna let this run. Okay, so you gotta hold on to your mixer because it wants to walk all over, but we've we've been mixing this for about 3 minutes, I'd say. So let's take a look at it now and see what it looks like. So now when you raise it, if you notice, it's sticking to the hook. Okay, before it was kind of falling off the hook and starting to tear. If you pinch this and pull, you see how much more elastic that is? Okay, we're in good shape here. So what I'm going to do is, see how it wants to come off the hook? Well, I say it wants to. It's not. It's going to come off easily and stay together, okay? So now we got some good gluten formed. So what I'm going to do with this, get the dough off my hand. I'm going to use that same bowl I had my flour in, and you can flour it, dust it, grease it. I'm just going to take a little bit of spray and kind of spray the edges. That way my dough doesn't stick to it, because you'll see when I go to pull it out of this pan that the dough is sticky. Since we use a sourdough start, it's stickier than normal. So I'm going to dump this out. I'm going to kind of scrape the sides to try to keep it in a ball as it comes out. Try to get it all. It's all goodness. Okay. So now that my dough is down in here, kind of pack it in a little bit of a ball. Okay, and I'm going to put just a little bit of flour on top of it, just sprinkle a little bit, because we don't want to incorporate a lot of flour into our dough. We've already got the right mix in. But I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on here, just in case, because now we're ready for our first rise. So I'm going to take a tea towel and put over it, and if the dough rises to the tea towel, I don't want it to stick to the towel, so that flour will help. Now you want to cover it. You want to cover it so it doesn't dry out. And another trick you can do, you can dampen your tea towel a little bit. Don't get it sopping wet because it gets too heavy. If the dough tries to rise and it can't move the towel, it's too heavy. But you can just cover it with a little bit of a damp tea towel. And then what I'll do is let that sit. It takes, you need to watch it. It takes 2 to 3 hours, I'm finding, at least in this type of weather. It's around between 70 and 72 in the house, so it's not that warm. But we'll let it sit 2 to 3 hours to it doubles. So if we take a look at it right now, you can see it in the bottom of the bowl. And you see this edge on the bowl up here. So to double, you figure it's got to at least come up to here. So we'll let that sit 2 or 3 hours, and then we'll check it. So see you in a couple hours. Okay, we're ready. Let's check this as our first rise. Remember where I left off at. I only went an hour. It's a little bit warmer today. I said 4 teaspoons of yeast. I put a little extra in. Still modifying as I go. I've got more like 4.5, 4 3/4. Let's take a look and see what we have after 1 hour. Woo! Remember, it was way down here, and I was hoping to get to this edge of the bowl, and look where I'm at. Now, the way you want to tell if this is done rising or not is if you stick your finger in it, and you see that divot I just made, notice it's not popping back up. It's staying. It means our rise is good and fluffy and full of air. If it's sprung back, we're not done rising. So I think we're good after an hour. We're going to go for this. So what we want to do first, I've got a dough board here, or a board, I'm calling a dough board. I'm going to lightly flour it. You can do it straight on the counter if you've got a granite countertop, that's even better. Just do it right there. Remember, we kind of want to use our flour sparingly because we don't want to incorporate more flour into our dough than necessary, because remember, we weighed in and we got what we want. So I'm going to get this out. All right, I'm going to dump this out on this board. So again, you see I'm kind of punching it down with my spatula, and I'm going to let it fall out. Boy, this is nice. Look at that. Woo! Buddy. All right, so I'm going to kind of start working it just a little bit, folding edge over edge. I'm folding it in. I'm going to fold it into a ball. Kind of, as you fold it, you kind of want to tuck those seams a little bit, stick it together. Kind of fold it in. Boy, it's working nice. All right, so I'm going to flip it over and just kind of roll it up under itself and make a ball. Now at this point, I'm going to cover it up and let it rest, oh, maybe 8 or 10 minutes. Put a little flour on it just so it doesn't stick when I cover it to my tea cloth. So we're going to cover it up and let it rest, and then we'll be back.